Discover the incredible impact of Earth's sudden stillness. A touching journey through time and heart. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the quaint Midwestern town. Families gathered for dinner, the aroma of meatloaf and mashed potatoes wafting through open windows. But for Jamie, a devoted single mother, life was a blur of juggling two jobs. As she slid onto the worn stool at the local diner, she felt the weight of dreams pressing down on her chest. She wanted a better life for her son, Ethan, a life filled with laughter, not the shadows of struggle that had haunted her childhood. Her parents, her father, a stoic veteran, and her mother, a radiant teacher, taught her the importance of hard work and family. Yet, each night as Jamie wiped down the counter, listening to the din of conversation and laughter, a part of her felt like she was disappearing. Dreams danced just out of reach, taunting her with whispered promises. She had sacrificed so much for Ethan's future, but she wondered if it would ever be enough. Then, amidst the clattering dishes and lively chatter, a curious stillness enveloped the diner. Time froze. Jamie blinked, her heart racing as she was drawn into a whirlwind of memories. She could hear her father's laughter at summer picnics, feel the warmth of her mother's embrace. But then the memories twisted like a storm, her father's lonely goodbyes, the day they lost their home due to unrelenting bills, the stillness that followed their world crumbling. Caught in this ghostly moment, Jamie faced her choices. A high-paying job that promised stability but would take her away from Ethan, or staying in a town where love existed and dreams felt tangible, despite the struggles. Should she betray her parents' teachings for a quick escape from pain? A chill crept up her spine. In a blink, time resumed. The diner buzzed back to life, but a heaviness lay in her heart. She watched families gather, and her gaze drifted reluctantly towards her estranged father's house, their last argument replaying in her mind. The hurt from unresolved feelings gnawed at her. Did she truly want to mend that fracture? Weeks passed, and just as Jamie thought she'd found a balance, a wave of storm clouds rolled into their peaceful town. A local business run by immigrants faced unjust prejudice, the kind that made her blood boil. Fueled by a fire within her, she chose to stand up, to fight for those who had given so much to their community. Standing tall with her neighbors at a town meeting, she felt the weight of her parents' wisdom guiding her. "I just want to do what's right," she declared, her voice ringing clear. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With each passing day, Jamie discovered strength she never knew she had. The fleeting moment of stillness had transformed her, igniting a passion for community, family, and reconciliation. Yet as she fought for justice, uncertainty loomed like a dark cloud. Could she muster the courage to reach out to her father and repair their fractured bond? Would he be willing to embrace her hard-earned truth? Now, with the echoes of her past and dreams for Ethan mingling in her heart, Jamie stood at a profound crossroads, one which would not only change her life, but potentially reshape her son's future forever. Jamie woke to the sound of raindrops tapping softly against her window, a gentle reminder that storms could bring both change and renewal. Ethan was still asleep, a few strands of hair tumbling across his forehead, innocent and peaceful. She smiled, tracing the familiar contours of his face with her eyes. There, in that moment, she felt a flicker of hope. Today could be the day she reached out to her father. After breakfast, which consisted of toast and the leftover meatloaf from the diner, Jamie stood in front of the mirror, brushing her hair. The reflection staring back at her was a mixture of determination and doubt. She hoped her father would be receptive, that the years of hurt could melt away like snow under a warm sun, but she couldn't shake the anxiety twisting in her stomach. Picking up her phone, she hesitated. Memories of their last heated conversation echoed words exchanged with bitterness, leaving wounds that still festered. She took a deep breath and typed a simple message. Dad, can we talk? I need to see you. Pressing send felt like a leap from a cliff, the air rushing past her as she waited for the reply. The minutes crawled, each tick of the clock almost mocking her impatience. Ethan padded into the living room, sleep still clinging to him, his eyes scrunched up in concern. Mom, are you okay? Yeah, buddy. Just waiting for a message, she replied, forcing a smile. Moments later, her phone buzzed. Jamie's heart raced as she opened her father's response. Sure, let us talk. It was simple, encouraging, but her emotions erupted like the storm outside, a mix of relief laced with anxiety. The drive to her father's house felt longer than usual. Each moment on the road was filled with questions. What would she say? Would he understand? Would he judge her for the choices she had made as a mother? As she pulled up, Jamie parked in front of the familiar old brick house. It looked smaller now, perhaps because her own heart felt bigger, or maybe because the weight of her past had shrunk against the promise of possibility. She took a deep breath, her heart thudding in rhythm with the rain drumming on the roof. When she knocked, the sound echoed, seeming to shatter the stillness that hung in the air. The door creaked open slowly, revealing her father, older and grayer than she remembered. His expression was a mix of caution and concern, and for a split second, they both stood frozen in time, caught in the currents of unspoken words. Jamie, he began, his voice barely rising above the rain. Dad, she interrupted, suddenly feeling the flood of emotions spill forth. I'm sorry for everything, the arguments, the silence. I just want to talk. His eyes softened, reflecting the weight of years gone by. He stepped aside, allowing her to enter. The smell of old wood mixed with the faint scent of cigar smoke welcomed her back. She hadn't realized how long it had been since she had felt that familiar warmth. Seated at the kitchen table, the silence settled heavily between them. In that moment, Jamie knew that this wasn't just about her past choices. It was about their shared history and the bravery it would take to confront it. Mom's really missed you. She finally spoke, the words spilling out before she could stop them. I've missed you. Her father looked down at his hands, fingers fidgeting. I've missed you too, Jamie. I just didn't know how to bridge the distance. As they began to talk, the storm outside faded from her mind, a steady rhythm in the background of their tentative reconnection. But somewhere beneath the surface, Jamie felt the stirring of something deeper. The realization that their conversation could change everything, not just for her, but also for Ethan. But just as the air seemed to crackle with possibilities, a sudden loud crash of thunder shook the house, momentarily interrupting their reunion. The storm had intensified, as if urging them both to confront what lay ahead. Would they weather the storm of their past together? Or would the tumult of old wounds leave them stranded once more? Just as the thunder rolled, Jamie's heart raced with the fear of what lay beneath their words. She didn't want to lose him again. The flicker of hope she had felt earlier now danced precariously, and she could either stoke its flame or let it extinguish completely. Dad, she said quietly, her voice trembling slightly. I want to understand. I want to know what happened with us, why it fell apart. He looked up, his eyes full of stories unspooled and ready to be told. You don't know the whole picture, he replied softly, the weight of his words pressing down on him. I was angry. I felt betrayed. When your mother and I split, it felt like I lost everything, including you. Tears welled up in Jamie's eyes. The jumbled feelings she carried were all tied to his pain. You didn't just lose me. I lost you too. All those years, I thought you didn't care. He winced, nodding slowly. I was so wrapped up in my own hurt. I didn't see what I was doing to you. I thought giving you space would protect you. But I see now that it just kept us both lost. Jamie wanted to reach across the table, to pull him back into the fold of her life, but she hesitated. Would reaching out make things worse? Would her longing for connection push him further away? Ethan, he needs a grandfather, she said, her voice breaking. He deserves to know you, to hear the stories you tell about us, our family. His gaze drifted to the window, watching the rain pour down like the tears they had both held back for too long. I've thought about him, you know? I'm proud of who you've become, Jamie. I I don't know how to make up for all that time. Jamie felt a surge of warmth at his words, as though they were a bridge being built between their hearts. Starts with this talk, doesn't it? We can figure out the rest as we go. He nodded, the tension in his shoulders easing a little. I want to be there for you, for Ethan. I just hope I'm not too late. Thunder rumbled once more, but it felt different now, not like a warning, but like a drum roll, heralding a new beginning. They were on the cusp of something. But what? Just then, there was a loud knock at the door, jarring them both from the moment. It echoed through the house like a bell tolling, demanding attention. Jamie's heart dropped. Who could it be? Don't answer it, her father urged, panic flashing in his eyes. Let us stay here, focused on us. But Jamie was already standing, a mix of fear and curiosity propelling her toward the door. What if it's someone trying to help us? But even as she spoke, doubt crept in. As she opened the door, the rain-soaked figure before her was one she didn't expect, a presence that could change everything once again. Would it lead them closer to healing, or unravel the fragile progress they had just made? As Jamie opened the door, the chilling wind whipped through the entrance, carrying droplets from the storm outside that splattered against her face. There, standing in the downpour, was her estranged brother, Max. He looked older than she remembered, shadows under his eyes framed by wild, curly hair and a beard that spoke of careless days. Max? She blinked, unsure if she was dreaming or if reality had finally decided to break through a long-held silence. Hey, Jamie, he said, his voice rough yet familiar, like an old song she had forgotten. He stepped forward, water drenching him completely, but neither seemed to care about the state of his clothes. I heard you were back in town. For a moment, all words seemed to freeze in the air between them. Jamie's heart raced, her pulse hammered in her ears. There was so much she wanted to ask, but the sight of him was overwhelming. What are you doing here? She managed, holding on to the door frame for balance. I didn't know if I'd see you after all this time. I needed to talk. Max swallowed hard as he stepped inside. I'm sorry for everything that happened. Jamie stepped back to let him in. Her father, who had been watching quietly from the table, looked visibly shaken. The old wounds were opening wider with each revealing word shared. It's been a long time, he said, his voice trembling with a multitude of emotions. Too long. Max agreed, eyes locked onto theirs. I messed up. I was angry about Mom and Dad splitting. Angry at both of you. But I've had time to think. Jamie felt a lump in her throat. How much time had they all lost? Each of them had wandered through their own pain in lonely silence. We all have, she finally said quietly, wishing she could bridge the gap of missed birthdays and shared laughter. Max ran his hand through his hair, looking lost in thought. I came here to say that I want to try and fix things. With both of you, I need my sister and my dad in my life again. I miss us. Jamie's heart fluttered with hope, yet uncertainty lingered like a shadow. Could they really find a way back to each other after all that had happened? Stories of hurt spun in her mind, but one aching feeling overtook the rest: loneliness. But before she could voice her thoughts, playing it safe seemed futile. We all need each other, Max. Her father spoke next, his voice steadier. It won't be easy. Trust needs to be rebuilt. I know, Max replied, his sincerity etched into his worn face. But I want to try. For what it's worth. I'm sorry for how I treated you both. How I acted. I see now that it only hurt us more. The sound of thunder cracked loudly, echoing in the silence that followed. An unspoken agreement hung in the air between them. The door creaked slowly, a reminder of the fragile connection they were all standing on. Jamie took a deep breath, weighed down by the enormity of this moment. Then let us start here. Right now. But a heavy silence loomed over them as her father hesitated. There is something we need to discuss first. Jamie's heart sunk. What could he possibly say to throw them off this path again? Just as confusion filled the room, there was another loud knock at the door, insistent and urgent, as if the universe was insisting on following an unpredicted course. With one look shared, a question hung in the air: who else could possibly demand their attention at this moment? Max glanced nervously at Jamie, his expression shifting from hope to apprehension. She felt the weight of his gaze, a silent question lingering. Would their fragile moment crumble under the pressure of whatever news was about to unfold? Who could that be? Jamie murmured, her heart thrumming wildly against her chest. Her father slowly moved toward the door, uncertainty marking each step. The knocking was relentless, a haunting reminder of the unresolved tension hanging in the room. "Stay here," he said, glancing back to them, his voice low and serious. He opened the door slightly, peering out into the dim light of the storm. "Dad, wait." Jamie felt the words tumble out as he hesitated. She didn't know why, but a sense of dread washed over her. This wasn't the moment to invite in more chaos. But the door clicked open, revealing a figure silhouetted by the blinding flash of lightning. A woman stood at the threshold, drenched and breathless, her face obscured by a dark cap. Jamie's breath caught in her throat at the sight of her. "It's Jamie," spoke in disbelief. The woman moved closer, shaking droplets from her hair. "I didn't mean to interrupt, but I really need your help," she said, her voice shaky but urgent. The light from inside the house illuminated her features, a face Jamie recognized but had not seen in years. "Claire?" Her heart raced. She hadn't thought about her childhood friend in ages. With mixed feelings swirling within her, shock and the warmth of nostalgia, she stepped forward. "What are you doing here?" I didn't know where else to go," Claire stammered, her eyes darting around nervously, taking in the awkward family reunion unfolding in front of her. "Something happened. It's about Max." Max stiffened, his brows knitting tightly together in worry. "What do you mean? What's going on?" Claire's shoulders slumped as she reached out for support, leaning against the doorframe. "There was an incident at the old house. I thought you should know. It's bad, Max. They found something that changes everything." "What are you talking about?" Jamie pressed, wanting answers but also fearing the potential chaos this could unleash. Max stepped closer, his expression shifting from confusion to determination. "Tell me, Claire, what did they find?" Thunder rumbled in the background, drowning out her response for a moment. Jamie could see the shift in Max's demeanor. His walls were crashing down as he braced himself for whatever was coming. This moment of truth stood on the edge of shattering their tentative reunion. "A letter," she finally said, gasping for breath. "It was in the attic, addressed to you." Jamie felt bile rise in her throat. A letter? It was as if the universe had chosen this moment to dredge up the past, to expose secrets thought buried. Max's hands clenched into fists at his sides. "What did it say?" Claire hesitated, the dread etched on her face. "I don't know all of it, but it's about Mom. The reason why she left. You have to see it. It might change how you feel about everything." Tension hung thick in the air, every heartbeat amplifying the noise of the storm outside. Jamie looked from Claire to Max, caught in a vortex of emotions: hope, fear, anger. This was not how she imagined rebuilding would unfold. But before she could voice any protest, Max took a deep breath, the decision already shaping his face. "We need to see it. Whatever hurt lies beneath it, we can face together." As Jamie felt a rush of panic, she whispered, "Are you sure, Max?" The doorway felt like a point of no return, framing their past and future. "I have to know," he replied, resolve threading through his voice. In that moment, Jamie knew everything was about to shift. They were standing on the brink of revelations, and she wasn't sure if they'd ever come back from it. Would the truth heal them or fracture their already fragile bond even further? From the shadows, the past was calling, and it wasn't ready to let go. Max's jaw tightened as he looked into Claire's eyes. The urgency there paralyzed him, while a storm raged in his chest. He took a step forward, the doorway between them and the unknown feeling heavier by the moment. "Okay. Lead the way," he said, his voice low but firm. Jamie felt an icy hand grasp her heart. How could he just decide like that? But there was something in his voice, a conviction that begged her to trust him. "Max, please, what if this is a mistake?" she pleaded, casting a worried glance at Claire, who stood shivering yet resolute. I need to know why she left, Jamie, he said, his gaze steady. I can't ignore this. Not anymore. Claire turned and stepped back into the darkness, beckoning them to follow. The rain poured even harder, the sound a percussion of chaos. Each step they took echoed with doubt. Jamie was torn, wanting to support Max but terrified of what lay ahead. They ventured into the storm, the wind whipping around them. Max was right beside her, and though she clutched his hand tightly, she felt an unshakable anxiety grip her throat. Why now, Claire? Jamie asked, straining to hear over the wind. Because I thought I could minimize the damage, Claire confessed, her voice barely audible. But after what happened at the house, I realized it's too much for one person to carry. I didn't want to bring old ghosts back to life, but Max deserves to know. You both do. A flicker of lightning broke through the darkness, illuminating the path ahead, and for a moment, Jamie caught a glimpse of Clara's face. It was pale and drawn, haunted by memories she could hardly bear to relive. As they reached the weather-beaten structure of the old house, the memories hung thick in the air. Each creak of the floorboards beneath their feet seemed to whisper secrets. Claire led them to the attic stairwell, where shadows loomed like secrets waiting to be found. Are you ready? Claire asked, hesitating at the top of the stairs. The attic door stood ajar, a portal to the past. Max squared his shoulders and nodded, looking back at Jamie with a mix of apprehension and fierce determination. We can do this together. Jamie felt a swell of emotions: fear, love, and something else. A flicker of brave hope danced in her chest. If Max was willing to confront the truth, so could she. But just as they stepped over the threshold, the atmosphere shifted. The air grew thick, and an unsettling chill crept up Jamie's spine. What if we find something we can't undo? She murmured, her voice breaking slightly. Max turned to her, his eyes softening. We'll face it head-on. Together. As they stepped into the dim space, Jamie barely recognized the attic, the once familiar treasures covered in dust and suspense. Max moved forward, scanning the room for answers. This is where I used to hide with Mom, he said quietly, memories flooding back in waves. She would tell me stories about everything up here without warning. A flash of lightning outside lit up a weathered box at the far end of the room. It sat alone, almost as if it were waiting for them. Max walked over, his expression a mixture of longing and fear. What is it? Jamie whispered, feeling her pulse quicken. I don't know, but it feels important, Max replied, reaching down to lift the box. As he opened it, a flurry of uncovered memories burst forth, a jumble of letters, photographs, and between them, an envelope that seemed to radiate the very weight of their history. Claire stood back, her presence a silent reminder of the secrets mingling in the air. The moment felt monumental, as if they were about to rewrite their narrative. But just as Max reached for the crumpled letter, the power flickered in the room, plunging them into darkness. The silence was deafening. What now? Jamie breathed, a knot of anxiety tightening in her stomach. Whatever it is, it's not done with us yet, Max replied, his voice echoing eerily in the void. That in that dark instant, it became clear answers would come at a cost, one they hadn't yet grasped. Would they be strong enough to handle what lay ahead, or would the darkness consume them? The shadows loomed large, and as they stood on the precipice of revelation, the wind howled outside, daring them to take the leap. Would they uncover the truth within that letter, or would it shatter everything they hoped to rebuild? The darkness swallowed them, a weighty grip that seemed to swallow sound itself. Jamie's heart thundered in her chest, drowning out the thoughts racing through her mind. She felt the familiar presence of Max beside her, but could barely see anything through the inky blackness. Max? She whispered cautiously, reaching out to grasp his arm. Can you see anything? No, he replied, and there was a tremor in his voice that hadn't been there before. But I can feel it. The box, it's still here. Something waiting for us. The tension hung thick in the air, and Jamie bit her lip, trying to resist the feeling of impending dread creeping in around her. She took a deep breath, trying to gain control, but her fear was palpable. I can't shake the feeling that this was a mistake, she admitted, her voice trembling ever so slightly. What if it's worse than we thought? There's no going back now, Max said, his words giving her a strange sense of comfort. We have to push through. Just then, Claire's voice broke through the darkness, shaky but firm. I didn't want to involve you both, but it has to come out. If we're going to heal even from everything that happened, we can't leave it buried. Max instinctively moved closer to Jamie, his shoulder brushing against hers, grounding her in the uncertainty. What do we do, Claire? He asked, his tone shifting from fear to readiness. There was a moment of silence before Claire spoke again, quieter now. We read that letter. Jamie felt a chill crawl down her spine at the thought of what they might find inside. But she sensed something had shifted within the room. The air was thicker, tinged with anticipation. Deep down, she knew the truth they were about to face could change everything. With a determined push, Max reached into the box again and felt around until he grasped the crumpled envelope. A sudden flick of lightning outside struck, illuminating the attic in a brief, pulsing glow. The sight of Max's hardened expression was etched in stark relief, a blend of resolve and fear. Here goes nothing, he muttered, pulling the letter free. As he unfolded it, the whisper of ancient paper echoed in the stillness. Jamie held her breath. Whatever happens, just stay close, Max urged, glancing at her and Claire. The moment was electric. Jamie leaned in, eyes locked on Max's, searching for a glimmer of reassurance. In that heartbeat, their shared resolve melded into an unspoken promise to face whatever lay ahead without hesitation. No matter the cost. Max's fingers trembled as he held the letter, his brow furrowing as he scanned the first few lines. It's from my mom. It sounds intimate, personal. Claire stepped closer, her heart racing alongside Jamie's. What does it say? She pressed, her voice barely rising above a whisper. It talks about love, regret. She mentions wanting to protect me from something. Max read aloud. But she doesn't explain. It's almost as if she was waiting for the right moment to share her truth. Jamie's stomach churned. What could be so terrible that it required hiding? And what damage did that secrecy cause? Just as Max was about to dive deeper into the letter, the wind howled louder, shaking the house's very foundation. A loose window rattled ominously, and Jamie jumped, instinctively grasping Max's arm tighter. Maybe we shouldn't, she began, doubt creeping back in that he turned to her, eyes fierce with a mix of determination and concern. We can't run from this, Jamie. We owe it to ourselves to hear her out, to confront her ghosts. The thunder rumbled in the distance like a growling beast. The energy in the room surged, and Jamie felt as if time was slipping through their fingers. Please, let us just read it. We'll figure this out together. With a deep breath, she steadied herself, hoping this moment wouldn't shatter everything. Max refocused on the letter, preparing to unveil the pieces of a puzzle that could lead them to astonishing truths. Just then, the lights flickered to life and dimmed, revealing the attic in stark clarity for a fleeting moment before plunging them back into shadows. The sudden illumination felt like a warning, a reminder that the answers they were seeking might come with profound consequences. What have we gotten ourselves into? Jamie whispered, heart racing. But in the silence that followed, all three stood bracing for what came next. The truth lay just out of reach. Would they embrace it? Or would the weight of the past drown them in its shadows? With the eerie ambience pressing in, they realized that the true revelations of the night were just beginning. Max's fingers shook as he turned the letter over, searching for the courage to continue reading. Jamie leaned in, her breath catching as if the very air had thickened. An unwavering silence enveloped them, punctuated only by the distant rumble of thunder. Okay, here goes, he murmured, eyes flicking back to the paper. His breath seemed to stutter as he spoke. It says lightning illuminated the attic again, casting a sharp shadow across Max's face and highlighting the tension. It felt as if the world outside was reaching in, urging them to confront whatever lay tucked within these words. Dear Max, he read slowly, if you're reading this, then I'm not there to explain everything. I've kept too many secrets, and it's time for the truth. Jamie felt the warmth of Max's arm next to her, but it didn't quite reach her heart. The words rolled over her like a heavy tide, and she could feel Claire shifting impatiently as if she, too, hungered for truth. "What did she keep from you?" Claire prodded softly, biting her lip, and Jamie shot her an encouraging look, desperate for answers. Max's brow was knitted tight, each word unfolding a deeper layer of their reality. "She talks about a choice she made and a promise she broke. It's about how love can sometimes bind us to decisions that haunt us for life." The weight of Max's voice mirrored the storm building outside. Jamie felt a surge of kinship with both Max and Claire, a shared vulnerability tethered by the unfolding mystery. But doubt gnawed at her, a reminder of the dangers woven tightly in family secrets. "What kind of promise?" Jamie asked, her voice a thread woven into the fabric of tension. Max took a breath, his face pale as he read on. "She writes about a darkness in our family. Something that started with my grandfather that affects us all." The night thundered back in response, shaking the floor like a prophecy echoing through their bones. Jamie's heart raced. "What could this mean? What do you think it is?" Claire's voice broke through the muffled air, skin prickling with anticipation. "I don't know." Max's eyes swept the room, restless and drawn. "But if it's about what I think it is, it could change everything." The silence carved its way back in, but it wasn't empty. It was filled with possibilities, each more terrifying than the last. Jamie's mind raced with what-ifs, her father's hushed conversations, the way Max often flinched at unexpected shadows. "Wait," Claire interjected, "what if the truth is not just about Max's family? What if it's connected to us, our own past?" The idea settled like a stone. They weren't just digging up Max's fears. They might also be unearthing their own buried truths. Everything we've gone through, the way our lives twisted and turned, could it stem from this? Jamie felt a chill skitter down her spine. Maybe this letter holds the key. Max's voice was steadier now, resilience shining through the cracks of doubt. He continued reading, eyes flitting across the page, his heart pounding with purpose. But just as he neared the end, the lights flickered and dimmed again, this time refusing to settle. Shadows danced around them, swirling chaotically, and Jamie's breath hitched. Suddenly, the attic door creaked ominously, a flicker of movement in the corner of her eye. Cold air washed over her, sending a shiver down her spine. "What was that?" she gasped, glancing nervously at Max. Before he could answer, the box at their feet rattled violently, almost as if it were alive, begging to reveal its contents. Max clutched the letter, his knuckles white as he held it against his heart. "We need to open it, whatever's in there might give us answers." But just as they made to reach for it, the wind shrieked, and the lights extinguished completely, plunging them into a darkness so profound it felt alive. "Max! Claire!" Jamie called, panic rising. Did they really want to uncover what lay hidden in the shadows? Their fate now hung in the balance, and with the echoes of the past clawing at them, the mystery deepened with each heartbeat. What truth would they finally face, and would it shatter the bonds they had forged? In the thickest darkness, with uncertainty churning like the storm outside, Jamie realized they were on the brink of a revelation that would forever alter their lives, and she had to find the strength to face it. The silence that engulfed them was overwhelming. Jamie's heart raced, each thump seeming to echo louder in the void. She felt the weight of Max and Claire next to her, but the darkness around them made the distance feel infinite. "Did the box just move?" Claire whispered, her voice trembling as she strained to see through the pitch black. Max swallowed hard, the letter still pressed against his chest. "I don't know, but we can't just sit here. We need to get to the box." The attic felt like a living thing, breathing around them as they tentatively reached out into the dark. Jamie felt her fingers brush against the cold, hard surface of the box. It felt alive beneath her touch, vibrating slightly as if it housed a heartbeat of its own. "Are you sure about this?" Claire murmured, a hint of fear threading through her voice. Max's reply was firm yet laced with uncertainty. "We have to. Whatever is in here," he paused, taking a steadying breath, "could change everything we know." As their fingers found the clasp of the box, an icy wind rushed through the attic. Jamie shivered, but determination ignited within her. She looked at Max, His expression was resolute, a leader grasping at the shreds of his family's history. On 3, Jamie suggested, her voice breaking the tension like a whisper through glass. 1, 2, 3. They pulled the lid open together. The darkness seemed to swell, consuming the light like a hungry beast. Jamie's breath caught as she peered into the box, and in that flicker of dim light, she spotted fragments that told stories marred by time. Old photographs, brittle and yellowed, lay huddled at the bottom. She carefully lifted one, a picture of a young woman with bright eyes and a smile that seemed to shine even in faded sepia. "Who is this?" she asked, holding it up for Max and Claire to see, though she could hardly make out their faces. Max leaned closer, his heart pounding. It looks like my grandmother. I never knew her. Do you think she knows about the secrets?" Claire asked, her voice tinged with awe. "I don't know," Max said, taking another deep breath. "But if she had her own secrets, then they're probably buried in here too." He started sifting through the box, pulling out more pieces of the past. Letters tied with frayed ribbons, a faded diary that looked like it had weathered tears and storms. As each item came to light, the air around them shifted, tinged with whispers from another time. "One of these has to explain what your mom meant," Jamie urged, her excitement tempered by apprehension. Max flipped through the diary, the pages cracking softly. "Listen to this," he said, his voice low and deliberate. "I promised to protect our family's legacy, even if it meant losing what I loved most." The atmosphere thickened, charged with a gravity they hadn't anticipated. Jamie's stomach twisted. What could hold such weight that love had to be sacrificed? Before Max could read more, thunder crashed again, a fierce reminder of the storm outside. It was almost deafening, drowning out everything else. Jamie felt a surge of fear at the thought of the hidden truths. What if the legacy was darker than any of them could imagine? As they leaned in closer, the words began to jump off the page, alive with emotion. "Listen, you have to understand," Max read. And just as he did, the attic door swung open with a creak, flooding them with the sudden glow of lightning. Jamie's heart stopped. There, leaning against the doorway, was a figure cloaked in shadow. "What have you against the past?" The voice was low, deep, echoing through the attic like a ghost ready to sweep in. Max froze, fear and shock flickering in his blue eyes. Claire gasped, backing away. In that moment, their carefully constructed world spun into chaos, the weight of their familial ties now threatened by an unknown danger. Jamie's throat went dry. The past was here, and it wasn't ready to let them go. "What do you want?" Max demanded, but the figure only stepped further into the light, revealing a familiarity that sent chills down Jamie's spine. Answers loomed ahead, tangled in shadows and secrets, and Jamie's heart raced at what mysteries awaited just beyond the threshold of fear. Would facing the truth bring them closer together or tear them apart forever? Jamie stood frozen, her breath caught in her throat as she stared at the figure illuminated by the flickering light. It was a woman, and though she was older, there was no mistaking the shape of those familiar features. Her mother, Marissa. "Mom?" Jamie's voice trembled, the word tumbling out like a long-held secret finally released. The silence around them throbbed with tension, charged as they stood on the precipice of lost time. Marissa stepped fully into the room, her eyes shimmering with the weight of memories. "I wasn't ready to confront you," she said softly, the strength in her voice laced with vulnerability. "But it seems the storm has pushed me here." Max and Claire exchanged glances, their expressions a mixture of shock and hope. For years, they had navigated the silence, missing the anchor of their mother's presence. Jamie felt her heart break open anew, all the longing and hurt intertwining with the joy of reunion. It was a feeling as intense as the storm outside, the rain pounding against the roof, the wind howling in sympathy of her own turmoil. "Why did you leave?" Max's voice cut through the air, raw and desperate. "All these years you let us believe it was our fault." Marissa's face fell, years of regret spilling over like the raindrops cascading outside. "I ran from my own truth," she admitted, tears brimming as she took a tentative step closer. I wanted to shelter you from a darkness I didn't fully understand myself, a history of pain that could have ruined everything I cherished. The letter clutched tightly in Max's hand felt heavier now, each word they uncovered echoing deeper truths. What do you mean? Jamie asked, her voice a whisper. You didn't have to do it alone. We've been searching for answers. Marissa's eyes glistened with understanding. I thought by leaving I was protecting you. But I see now love doesn't cower. Confronts. Suddenly, Jamie felt a swell of strength wash over her. You're here now. We need you to share the truth, not just for us but for Ethan's future too. He deserves to know his family. The storm raged outside, but inside, a different kind of tempest began to quiet. Marissa hesitated, but Jamie saw the walls she built as a shield begin to crumble. I kept this to protect you, she said, her voice trembling as she retrieved an old locket from around her neck. Inside this locket is a picture of my mother. The truth delays as much as it reveals. I couldn't face my past until now. Gingerly, she opened the locket, revealing faded images of family, laughter, and love faces anchored in time. Jamie took a step closer, her heart heavy with the weight of lost years and unspoken words crashing down like the rain on the roof. I wasn't just protecting you. I was drowning in fear, Marissa continued, her voice barely rising above a whisper. There are consequences to our choices, Max. You deserve more than I ever gave you. Max stood there, a storm of emotions dancing across his face. You could have tried to include us, to let us in. Marissa swallowed hard, wincing at the pain she had failed to acknowledge. I was lost. I didn't realize that the only way forward was together. Claire stepped closer, moved by the vulnerability swirling in the room. Perhaps it's time for you to share not only the burden of those secrets, but the hope they veiled. We can face this together. Jamie reached for her mother's hand, her heart pounding with both fear and courage. It's not too late. We can build a foundation on honesty, on love instead of shame. With a deep breath, Marissa nodded, drawing strength from the warmth of their unity. I will tell you everything. The truth, the burdens, and the patterns of pain that bind us. I thought keeping you safe was the answer, but I see now that sharing our burden is how we heal. As the past began to unfurl, memories dripped like rain, stories unveiling the ties that connected each of them. Jamie felt her heart swell with a flicker of hope. Together they would break the cycle of pain that had held so tightly to their family. Every truth shared cast away shadows, illuminating the room, as well as their hearts, the storm outside gradually turning from fury to gentle rain. With each word, they laid down the burden of silence, discovering strength in their shared vulnerabilities. And then, just as they thought they might breathe freely once more, Jamie felt Ethan's presence next to her. She turned to find him standing in the attic doorframe, wide-eyed and curious, unaware of the emotional storm they had been weathering. Mom, what is happening? He asked, confusion mixing with concern. Jamie knelt down, smiling through her tears. It's our family, buddy. We're uncovering our story so we can write our future together. His innocent smile lit up the room, as they gathered around him, forming an unbreakable circle of love. As they embraced, the rain turned into a soft drizzle, a soothing balm washing away the remnants of their doubts. From this moment forward, they would face their past, share their truth, and forge a future built on love. And as the clouds parted, golden light kissed their faces, a promise shimmering in the air. Together, they could weather any storm. This is the moment to embrace change and understanding. You need to subscribe now to witness the next incredible transformations. And don't wait not even one more second to share this journey with at least 5 friends who need hope and healing. Leave a like now to let the algorithm know you support our community of healing. And comment below your thoughts and feelings about this heartfelt ending. Your voice matters.